Welcome to the Hindu Parenting Podcast. Today's topic is of particular interest to young parents and children. We are going to be talking of birthdays. Today, we celebrate birthdays that sound like 21st December or 3rd March. But as followers of Sanatana Dharma, we celebrate our gods and festivals on days that sound like Krishnashtami, Ramanavami, Buddha Purnima, or Mahavir Jayanti. So, how do we reconcile these ways of arriving at birthdays and festivals? Was there a time when we used to calculate and refer to our birthdays differently? The question for us: do we know our Indic birthdays? Can we find our child's Janmatithi? To help us understand the difference and tell us some interesting anecdotes along the way, Shalini and I will be talking to Suraj ji, founder of Janmatithi.in or indicbirthday.in. Namaste and welcome, Suraj ji.
Namaste Rekha ji, Namaste Shalini ji. Thank you for having me here. And thanks for hosting such a wonderful platform especially for parents who are looking for a cultural connect for their kids.
It's a pleasure to have you. Let's start with, why should we bother knowing our Indic birthdays? What is in it for us and our children?
Indeed. So today, if you go and ask any kid, when is the birthday of Jesus Christ, he knows it immediately. He'll say it is December 25th, from the top of his head. But ask the same kid, what is the birthday of Sri Rama or Sri Krishna? Do you know when they were born? They would not be sure about it. They will start scratching their head and wondering. They would not have an answer like Sri Rama was born on Chaitra Navami and Krishna was born on Shravana Ashtami. These things are a real question mark for us. Why do kids don't know this? One of the reasons is because we have lost our connect with the Indic calendar. And Indic calendar connects us with our culture. If you look back, even the ancient Indians, they excelled in astronomy. They devised a astronomical calendar which is based on science and has undergone minimal change since millennia. If you look at English calendar, though, it is rather arbitrary. It was not even standardized till 17th century. Only after 17th century, they borrowed some techniques from India and synchronized their calendar. So what was the need for our ancestors to devise such a advanced calendar at such an early age? It was primarily for navigation. Those days, Indians navigated across the world, and the complex calculations and accurate calculations were needed for this. In fact, there's a story that goes that Vasco da Gama discovered India as per our books, but the story goes that he couldn't have reached India but for the help he received from an Indian called Kanha. Vasco da Gama, when he came, he actually came only through the shores. He did not venture into deep sea. He came to Africa, and then from there on, an Indian called Kanha actually navigated him along with his boats to India. So Vasco da Gama documents this. He says that he could see boats which are much larger than his boats. And also, he incidentally says that the person there who was navigating us through his teeth. So this was very weird.
What?
Yeah. So the story is very interesting. So the teeth actually represents it's represented by a word called cow. So cow is what Kanha was referring to, and his reference was the pole star, his local dialect. He was using a device and he was measuring the altitude of the pole star from the horizon using a wooden board, and the thread was held by his teeth. So when Vasco da Gama saw this, he also heard the word cow, and he had a memory of cow being used for teeth, the word cow being used for teeth as well. So I presume there is some relation between teeth and navigation. But
How
Kana was actually,
ridiculous.
Kana was going very advanced. He was looking at the pole star and he was measuring. So this kind of highlights the difference of understanding of the Indian perspective of astronomy and navigation as compared to that of a Western mind. The navigation and understanding of navigation and astronomy was defined by the calendar, the calculations of the calendar. That's why calendar is very important for us in that context. And if you go back from the English perspective, as I said, they had like no calendar. well-defined calendar before the 17th century. They had a lot of errors. Well, Indians had this continuous calendar since millennia. And that's why going back into history, we can look at these lessons.
Hmm. So, when was this calendar standardized, and why? And what was there before this calendar was standardized?
So if you really go back to ancient times in the European continent, they had a very harsh winter. So they actually did not count the days during the winter. They did not care about what happened outside. They were indoors. Only the first 10 months were important for them. After that, they really did not calculate time. So in
Really?
a, yeah,
So timekeeping took a break for 2 months. Is that possible?
that's right. And it was causing a lot of issues for them. They could not predict festivals correctly. They had trouble getting the winter solstice date correct, and they had nobody to tell them. So then in those days, a lot of information came in from the Indian subcontinent, especially through the Arabs. So that's how they evolved their calendar over time. While India was already having all this knowledge, they were working of advanced trigonometrics, right? This was the situation in the West was much different. Now, the calendars were then driven by the emperors and the church. So, like
Mhm.
Julius Caesar was dominating the Julian calendar, and Augustus also came in. So, Augustus kind of said, okay, August month should be mine. That's how July and August has, 31 days. It is not because they are named after emperors, while February is deprived of 2 days, 28 days, because
Oh,
there was nobody to. So,
so
it is so
it was the whim and fancy of some emperors that they decided to name months after them and use it,
correct.
in any which way they wanted. 31 days for each of them, and uh, you know, depriving poor February of 2 days.
Correct, correct. Once in 4 years, he he turns his head up a bit, but that was
Okay,
much later. And then came in Pope Gregory. So Pope Gregory was the one who defined the Gregorian calendar in the 17th century. This kind
that
of
is what we
unscientific.
use these day
Mhm.
today, right? That this is what we
That's
use
right.
today. Okay.
That's right. That came into practice in the Western continents and around the 17th century, 15th to 17th century. So those days, if you announce a calendar, it doesn't happen immediately. It takes years and centuries to implement it across for the knowledge to have spread. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that was when the Gregorian calendar came in. And also a point to highlight here is that in Indian calendar, we have the concept of tithis. And the tithis are like there are 30 tithis in a month. So, and these tithis are like days. And it's always
Okay.
30. So it is
Okay.
consistent across months. It is not like some emperor told, I want something which is better and it doesn't change. It is much more secular in that sense, while this is more religious, right? Even since it's driven by the church, Pope Gregory announcing something. And also the
So
second point is when we. Mhm.
what
Go ahead.
adjustments did Pope Gregory make exactly? What did he do?
So in initially there were, let me go back one step back as well. If you see, I told about the 10 months, right? So the 10th
Right.
month was supposed to be December. That's why
Uh,
the year ends at December. And there is Nava, November is 9, Nava, and December
oh,
is Dasha, 10. So
oh,
that's where they ended the year. But much later
okay,
on,
okay.
when they did much more corrections and around the 15th, 16th century, Pope Gregory and with I mean, it was basically some scientists and people who came together, and then Pope Gregory announced that we should skip 10 days for the correct date to come in. So around 5th October to 15th October, so 5th October being one day, the next day was 15th October. They skipped 10 days in between. And this
What?
was yeah,
Really? Really?
This
correct,
is
yes.
quite a mess.
This is so random and ridiculous and arbitrary. They just skipped 10 days. Those 10 days came and went, but they never got recorded. The date changed from
Yes.
what, October? October 5th to 15th,
5th
is it?
to
What was
15th.
it?
That's right. That's right. 5th to
Oh
15th
my.
around that time.
So after 5th, the next date was
Next,
15th.
that's right.
Wow.
So they didn't
You know,
have October 6th or 7th, anything like that.
Okay.
you know what I
Okay.
find very interesting here? So we have the quote unquote secular calendar that follows the planetary positions the sun and the moon, the heavenly bodies and everything. But what we are following, thinking that it is secular, is actually the Christian religious calendar. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yes. So we base, in fact, the start of the calendar itself as AD BC. That was based on the birth of Jesus, and every year starts around Jesus' birthday. So our birthdays, English birthdays today, are religious birthdays, as it's based on Jesus Christ and his
But
birthday.
today, I think they have changed that. No, now it's called the common era. But yes, you're right. While
Yeah.
we were growing up, we called it AD and BC, which was
Yes.
after Christ and before. So yeah,
Absolutely.
uh, but it's taken. This change probably happened in the latter half of the 20th century, perhaps, right? This movement from
Yes.
AD to C, common era.
Yeah, they have tried to correct a lot of things, but there I can come to that at some point where many concepts of India were very, very advanced, and now the West is trying to catch up on that. So they are
Okay,
copying us still, but not
okay,
giving the due credit.
okay, great. So we will discover those by and by, Yeah.
Sure, sure. Yes,
So
I'll elaborate.
maybe not in this podcast, but maybe in a future one, because what we are diving into is a very vast subject. I don't think it
True.
will end with one podcast. Anyway, so now that we know how scientific and culturally important it is, knowing our Indic birthdays, how can we find our Indic birthdays? You have your website, right? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how to navigate your website and how to find our Janmatithi using your website.
Sure. So the website name is indicbirthday.com or indicbirthday.in. The other domain also, which points to the same website, is janmatithi.com, janmatithi.in. You can go to
All
any of
right.
these and it
Right.
will bring you to the same website. So on the
Sure.
main page, it will be allowed for you to enter your English birth date, that is your current whatever birth date, with the year uh, of your birth, and then you
Okay.
need to put in the time of your birth. Then
Okay.
you can, if you are born in India, the default time zone is the Indian time zone. You can choose a different time zone if you are born
Okay.
somewhere else. But remember, it's the place of your time zone of your birth, not the time
Huh.
zone of your current time zone. So if you're
Right.
born in India, it should be, and currently in US, you have to put the time zone as India.
India. Right.
And
Right.
yes, because it refers to the birth time and year.
Hmm.
Now,
And
when
suppose
you say
one
get,
doesn't know the exact time of birth, how important is that?
it is okay to have an error of about a couple of hours. The
Okay.
reason being, we are calculating Janma Tithi, with Tithi has a range of around 24 hours, 20 to 24 hours. So it is
Sure.
okay to have that error.
Sure.
So
Okay.
once you have put this in three inputs, you just say get Jantithi, and it'll throw you the detailed timings of your birthday for the current year. So it'll tell you when to celebrate it in the current year based on the English date reference, and it'll also tell you the Indian calendar, Indic month, and Indic Tithi, Indic day, that is, and the Paksha. So these details will also come up. So it can then be saved, and it will go into database in your login. You can log in and then save that birthday, and you can share it to your family. They click on the link and it will reopen for them. So it is quite elaborate. We have done a lot of features there to be able to save and share the Indic birthdays.
I see. So, how long have you been working on this website?
It has been a few years now. It's been 4 or 5 years, and I have a
Okay.
regular job. So we have been evolving it over time, and with the help of some freelancers. And amazingly, I've got a lot of help from very cooperative freelancers, friends, my family, and also there was this help I got from a German collaborator. He was working in a university in Germany. In fact, he was also connected with Maharshi Mahesh Yogi at some point.
Oh,
That's why
okay.
he was knowledgeable as well, and gave me a lot of knowledge on the Swiss ephemeral data library, the software library, which
I see.
gives the planetary positions used for calculating the Janma Tithi and nakshatra, rashi, all those things.
Okay. So you have put in a lot of effort into building this website. So I think we should encourage our listeners to definitely visit this website, janmatithi.in or janmatithi.com, or the same thing as indicbirthday.in or indicbirthday.com. So I think we should, support really hardworking people like this who are putting in time and effort apart from a steady job otherwise to make things like this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Surajji.
I would like to also add that this tradition is it is I'm sure this is meant to happen. That's why I'm just the means. It's happening. It is a very living tradition of Janmatithi in many cultures. If you go to Gujarat, they celebrate. They call it Tithi Anusar birthday, or if you go to Kashmir, it is called Koshur birthdays. They have a name for this. They call it Koshur birthday. In Gujarati
Okay.
and UP traditions, in ISKCON, they have this tradition very actively followed. Art of Living has their Ayush Homas. Ramakrishna Mission celebrates Vivekanandaji's and a list of saints' birthdays on Janmatithi. So it is a very
Okay.
living tradition even today. And just that we did not have this information out there. So I was really searching for it and decided to develop it myself.
That's
Very nice
wonderful.
to hear this. Yeah, really. Okay, so how did you first develop an interest in this concept of Indic birthdays?
Yeah, that's a very interesting story for me. It is a very personal story as well. My father, his name is Krishna, and he was born on September 2nd. That is his birthday. And that particular year, apparently, it was Janmashtami when he was born. Now, we didn't
Okay.
know this for a long time, but
Okay.
recently, just before we started on this exploration of the website, we had a few years before that, we had this discussion that, Dad, we'll celebrate your birthday. It was a special, some anniversary, and he told that okay, but let us do it on Janmashtami because that is very special for me. So we asked why, why is Janmashtami special? So then he said that okay, I was born on Janmashtami and we had this celebration at home when I was a kid. That I ended up asking him then that, oh, your name is Krishna and you are born on Janmashtami. That is a very nice coincidence. So he
Yeah.
told,
Okay.
but actually, the story is that since he was born on Janmashtami, he was named Krishna. I didn't realize it because I myself was so disconnected from this concept of Indic dates and months that it didn't strike to me. So
Yeah.
then the second question came, oh, you were Krishna. So my grandmother's name is actually Sita, and and since he was born on Krishnashtami, she felt it relevant that we should keep it his name as Krishna. That was her basis for naming him Krishna. Now, subsequently, the first part was answered that his name is Krishna for that. But what is Ashtami? Krishna Ashtami
Mhm.
is as it is commonly known. So, delving into that, we figured out Ashtami is the name of the tithi on which it is celebrated. So, Ashtami stands for Ashta, which is 8 in Sanskrit.
Mhm.
So, this was also revelation for me because all the birthdays, if you see, Rama Navami is based on a tithi name and tithi combination. I found
Okay.
it very beautiful, and I extended the same to my website also. So if you actually add your name in the website along with their birthday, it will give you your personalized birthday name, which says, for example, my name would come up as Suraj Shashti, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So this
That's
was,
very nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
beautiful
So
way
That's
to
this,
very nice.
personalize, a beautiful way to attract children to make them feel special, I would say.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
Suraj, you've been talking about Tithi so many times, and in the English calendar, I think the equivalent is a date. Uh, Date versus Tithi. Now, can you help us understand the difference between the two?
sure. So when we say a date in an English calendar context, it is a civil day, so which starts at around midnight
Mm-hmm.
of the Greenwich Meridian time, right? Whatever you have studied. Now, in the Indian context, we start the day at sunrise. That is point one. And the other thing is when we say tithi, what do you mean by tithi? Tithi is actually the 12-degree movement of the relative angle between the moon and the sun when you see it from the earth.
Okay.
I hope you understood what I'm saying.
Maybe you should make it a little simpler for all of us.
Sure. A simple way to represent it would be a lunar phase. When you say there is a full moon, and then the moon slightly goes on waning, and then that's so when it goes waning, there is a
Huh.
shift of some amount, and that shift is what is measured. So that shift is
Okay.
due to the relative position of the moon and the sun.
Okay. Okay.
When
Okay.
we put it into when we put it into degrees, it is a 12-degree movement, which is called as
Okay.
one tithi. So a new moon is a
Oh,
tithi, then it is
okay.
pratipat, which is the first tithi, dvitiya, tritiya, chaturthi, panchami, shashti, saptami, ashtami, navami, dashmi, and so on till the next event, which is the new moon, and then again the count starts, pratipat, so on
New
till
moon or full
again.
moon? You started with new
Yeah,
moon, so I think you mean full moon, and then again,
either way
yeah,
works. So, but
yeah.
but an important thing to consider here is that in the month can be started with a new moon. And if you start the month with a new moon, you will have first the waxing phase, which is the Shukla Paksha. So it is becoming
Okay.
brighter. Then the full moon comes in. And
Mm.
once the full moon is crossed, it is the waning phase, which is the Krishna Paksha, till the new
Mhm.
moon occurs again. From the first new moon to the second new moon is one Indic month. And between this whole cycle, from one new moon to other new moon, you have two pakshas, which is Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. Each paksha is divided into 15 tithis. So these tithis is what we are representing by numbers, and that is the 12-degree movement.
Does a tithi correspond to a 24-hour day?
Correct. A tithi is similar to a day in duration. It is about 20 to 24 hours. And as I explained, it is the 12-degree movement. So
Okay.
when you measure it, it will come more or less in the duration of a day, but not exactly. It's a
Okay.
complicated calculation. That's why we have the website. You can go there and you can check
Uh,
it. But I don't want to
sure.
put too much concepts right now.
Sure, sure, sure. Interested listeners are free to explore janmatithi.in, for more information. Okay, so going by whatever you have spoken of before, it looks like our calendar is rather complex, takes into account the sun, the moon, and the earth's position with respect to that. Um, is there a name for this calendar, and are there different calendars across the world? Can you throw some light on this?
Yeah, the Indian calendar is called the lunisolar calendar. So this not just belongs to India; it is the whole Indian subcontinent, which is based on lunisolar calendar. Which lunar, when we say it is like the moon and the sun combined energy. While the West, so I'm putting it into two cultural aspects here: the West and the East. So the West has more, even culturally, if you see, they have a dominance of the male god. There is only one god, which is a male god. There is no female god there in their cultures, right? While
Oh,
the Eastern cultures have a concept of female divinity as well. This is very representative of the culture. We have the female energy also considered in all aspects, including the
okay,
calendar. So the
okay.
male is generally represented by the sun. So there is the sun, which is Shiva, and the moon, which is Shakti. Now, even Dr. Sanjay Rath, who is a famous astrologer, has spoken about this. He says, if you are following the birthday as per only the sun, then you're a fool. Your real birthday
Why?
is when so he says the real birthday is only when the male and the female energies come together. Otherwise, you cannot be born. So the on the
Oh,
day of your birth, yeah, so on the day of your birth, the sun and the moon form the relationship. So there is the male and the female, Shiva and Shakti, which came together and formed the relationship, and you are born. Now, every year, when you have the same relationship of the sun and the moon, only then you can celebrate your birthday. So that is your real birthday. That is when you are cosmically aligned. And anything you do, any pujas you do, or any auspicious, any blessings which come to you are more to connected to you through the cosmos only on your real birthday. So your lunisolar birthday. So this is very
oh.
beautifully put by him.
Oh, yeah,
So
it makes eminent sense. You cannot take birth with just one energy, right? You need both. So,
absolutely,
are you saying
absolutely,
that the Western calendar follows only the path of the sun and not the moon at all?
exactly. And it's just the solar reference which is considered there. And as we discussed, there's a lot of discrepancies in terms of how the days are aligned. But also this aspect of, and also is referring to the way the Western culture has adopted a lot of Indian concepts, right? We were talking about, now they are talking about you know, correcting the mistakes. So they are talking a lot about feminism now, while India was already a lot feministic in their outlook. We gave even our
Yes,
voting rights
absolutely.
much before before
That
the
is
West
true.
gave it, right?
That is true.
So
And I think after your explanation, I think Indian parents would really want to take a serious relook at how they're celebrating their own as well as their child's birthday. No, uh, you
yes,
can't be celebrating
in
just one energy. You need both. So if your birthday according to the English calendar is taking into account only one energy, you are not born, so I think Indian parents, after this very enlightening point that you have made, I think would really take a look at celebrating Janma Tithi, instead of birthday. Yeah.
correct.
I
And
remember something that I had read before regarding the Somnath temple in Dwaraka and how it brings together the male and the female energies. Surachi, would you know anything about that? It has something
yes,
to do with
yes,
the same Shiva Shakti that you talked about.
correct, correct. So in fact, Krishna, Bhagwan Krishna was the first, was a very early feminist, and he built this Somnath temple at in Dwarka. So Soma, when you say Soma, right, it means the moon, and it's a Shiva temple. So it brings together both the energy of the moon and the sun, the Shiva and Shakti both together there, and it serves as a reminder for us not to forget this concept. In fact, only
Absolutely.
now in the West, there is this movement of ecofeminism which is coming up, and they are lately co-adopting these things. And ecofeminism places a lot of importance on the moon also, and they would actually agree with what we are putting, how we are putting the calendar, and they would say yes, we should be more towards the moon, giving also importance to moon equally, since they are very patriarchally driven, and as well give importance to nature, which is again something which we bring a lot from the east. So ecology and feminism comes together, and it's a developing concept there while we have been having it. So why not we celebrate and cherish that, right?
Absolutely.
So true.
Without a doubt.
Surachi, you're a parent, a father yourself. Do you think it's possible to incorporate this way of thinking in the daily life of a young family? What has been your experience trying to incorporate Janmatithi into your, birthdays and daily routine?
Yeah, absolutely. It is very much possible, and we have experienced a lot of evolution. I am a father of two daughters, and my elder daughter was actually born on Varamahalakshmi, and it was a Dwadashi. So we make it a point to celebrate both these days. We celebrate it on Dwadashi as well as on Varamahalakshmi. And apart from this, my after developing and studying about this concept, right, I realized my wife was born on Mahavir Jayanti. So Mahavir
Oh,
Jayanti has also become special, and my wife started reading up about Mahavir, about his teachings. And my mother-in-law we realized, was born on Vasant Panchami. That is another festival which we usually overlooked, but we started celebrating. It's become a special day for us as well now.
Lovely. Lovely. Yeah.
Similarly, like even the concept, these names we have given names. My friend called Pragya, she is celebrating her birthday on Pragya Dashmi. She was born on Dashmi, and she never knew about this Indian calendar concept, but she has been celebrating it, looking forward to double celebrations. So we make it a point to meet together and celebrate. This has been across my family and my friends, and they have been beginning to understand also. My wife was not so much aware of the Indian calendar, now understands when the month changes, when the
Mhm.
that's how similarly the seasons, the rutus, how they are calculated. We are all beginning to start to look forward to Indian festivals and celebrate our birthdays with that. And we are more
That's
aware of
a great point. Being aware of Indic calendar makes you really well connected to nature and the cycles of nature. So that's another important reason to keep in touch with the Indic calendar.
that's right, that's right. Yeah, I would like to bring one more point here. This not just the calendar dates, it is also how we celebrate has changed. As you said, no, we have more festivals, we are more aware of it. So we started doing on the Indic birthday, we do not blow out the candles like we mostly what you see kids today at midnight, they're blowing out candles and they are causing darkness. So an Indic's birthday can be celebrated by lighting lamps, you know, or doing an arti for the birthday girl or boy. We can do even danam, donation for the underprivileged. So
Mhm.
these aspects also can be brought into the Indic birthday, and we don't, kind of blow out candles. We celebrate in our own way, which is
Yeah.
auspicious to the Indic culture.
Yeah. This business about midnight celebration. Uh, I think I read somewhere about why this midnight celebration started, but I'm not able to recollect completely. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you have any idea of that?
Yeah. So the midnight celebration is actually a borrowed concept. So if you see it, the midnight is based off the Greenwich Meridian, right? The Greenwich Meridian, which is around near to UK. That is about 5.5 hours behind in the Indian meridian. The original reference of our ancient India was the meridian which goes through Ujjain, which is the center of India, and that is where the
Ah,
Mahakal
right.
temple is. So
Yes,
this was
yes.
actually the original reference of the whole world, and the concept was then borrowed, and they back calculated. Okay, 5.5 hours before Ujjain is Greenwich, so it's about sometime before sunrise, so many hours before sunrise. So when
I
it's
see.
midnight at UK or Greenwich, it is actually sunrise time in India. So it's 5:30, 6-ish in India, which makes more sense.
Ah,
That's the start of the day of for Indic cultures. We always say sunrise is a time when the day starts. So it's a colonized way of looking at things when you if you see only midnight as the start of the day.
so actually, a person celebrating their birthday in London is actually celebrating in the Indic way,
Yeah,
right?
true, true. It is sunrise
if
in
if we
India when
if
they are
we
cutting the cake.
reconsider Ujjain meridian as our primary meridian, then the
Yes.
person celebrating at midnight is actually celebrating according to Ujjain meridian, and it's the break of day. So that's an Indic way of celebration for a Londoner. But I don't think it's correct for Indians to do that way, right?
Yeah.
Because we are
We
then
also
adopting their style of celebrating during
correct.
midnight.
We should do it in the morning, so then it's correct as per our time zone.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah. This is very
Yes,
interesting.
I was thinking it would be very helpful if we started thinking about the tithi every day of the week rather than just on birthdays. So, do you have products like maybe a desk calendar or a wall calendar that parents can use to keep track of time so that it becomes a habit in the family?
Thanks for bringing this point. So one of the problem which we face today is, although we are interested in this information, most parents may be interested, but the kids do not get this knowledge visible and clearly available to them. in a physical way. We don't want them to go online all the time, right? So we actually we are putting together a view of the calendar, which is from Indic month's perspective. And that is also available on our website if you go to the monthly calendar. And that would provide a much clearer understanding of the Indian months and the Indic days. This can be put, we will come up with our printed calendars, and that can be put. We also coming up with an app for the same for a website. It is under development, and there can be many concepts where there can be toys. So the thing is that if we bring it into the physical world and we celebrate on a daily basis, then it makes more sense. For example, recently there was this birthday of a famous emperor, Krishna Devaraya. It was on Paush Krishna Dwadashi. So nobody noticed it because it is marked on the Indian calendar, but not on the English calendar. So we are losing that connect to what's happening. But if somebody goes and realizes that, oh, I was born on Sri Krishna Devaraya's birthday, I was also born on the same Indic birthday, it will create a connect. Kids, they will always pay attention when you say it's a birthday. Ask them, is your birthday important or is Diwali important? They'll say my birthday is more important, it is more special. And if you are born on a historic day, then you would want to know more about it. So the kid will go and read up about the cultural aspect, who was Sri Krishna Devaraya, what is his history. It completely connects us to ancient times, say even from Ramayana Mahabharata, which is getting disconnected, and it makes the day even more special. And yeah.
I would also like to see Indic birthday cards that maybe children can share. If you have things like like you just mentioned, Surat Shashti, for example. And just imagine how beautiful it would be if a child receives a special birthday card on that day, connecting her to the culture and to the special day. So there's so many possibilities. Let's hope that this becomes a movement, and we inspire all the parents to go ahead and celebrate 2 birthdays. We can continue to do the calendar birthday, but let's also celebrate the Indic birthday, and let's remember to make that an extra special birthday for the child so that it stays in his mind for a long time, and it connects him to his culture in a very deep way. So another idea, I think, I'd like to have your input on this, is to have a game of quiz with kids to make a list, or to have them make a list of tithis. So much is in common. I mean, we commonly know all these things already. Like we know Vinayak Chaturthi, we know Basant Panchami, we know Ratha Saptami, Ramanavami, Vijayadashami. So any tithi that you can name, like, right from Ekadasi to different tithis, we have some festival or birthday of a god associated with it already. So this can become an exercise for kids to play some kind of a quiz game, or for parents to help children collect this kind of information and make it really interesting for them, so that maybe in a few years, we can see a lot of knowledge about these aspects in Indian children. That's my hope.
Yeah, as Rekha just said, every tithi has a festival associated to it. So there is, Vivaha Panchami, in fact, which is the anniversary of Rama and Sita. It is celebrated. We have Vivaha Panchami also, so anniversaries also can be added.
That is so
there
nice.
Is Skanda Shashti. True. So Skanda Shashti is the birthday of Lord Skanda. Ganesh Chaturthi is 4. So you can have this quiz till Dashmi, Ekadashi, Trayodashi, Naraka Chaturdashi is Deepavali. It is all there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Suratji, we have a question from a listener, Shreya. She's asking us, is Sankranti celebrated according to Hindu calendar? If it is, then why does it fall on the same dates in the English calendar, like the 14th or 15th of January every year?
Yeah, so the concept of Sankranti is based on the solar cycle. So we have 12 Rashis covering 360 degrees of the movement of the sun in relation to the earth. And this 360 degrees is divided into 12 Rashis. When the sun moves from one Rashi to another, it is called Sankranti. Since we complete one whole solar cycle in a year, it is somewhat similar in terms of the calculation calculations of the modern Western calendar. I say again, emphasize modern, because Indian calculations go much more back from ancient times. But the modern calculations have come closer to the same accuracy. That's why Sankranti dates kind of match with the English calendar dates.
Okay, so Sankranti is calculated according to the solar movement, and
Correct.
that's why it coincides with the English calendar dates every year.
That's right.
Thank you. That was great information.
So I think we've had a wonderful time, and this is definitely not going to be the last of our conversations. I'm sure we will be getting in a lot of questions from listeners also, because I think we've spoken enough for our listeners to be excited and curious about this subject. And I'm sure many have a lot of questions. So we will definitely have you another time on the podcast, Surajji. But for now, I think we must come to the end of this episode.
I would like to add one final quote which I read somewhere in Singapore in a zoo. So it makes sense here. Well, it says that in the end, we will preserve only what we love, and we will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. So when we teach our kids these concepts, only then can we take this and inculcate it in our daily life. Yeah,
Oh,
thanks.
I think that's a fantastic quote. And I think we will end with that. Thank you. Thank you, Surajji.
Thank you. Namaste.
And Rekha, thank you so much, as always, for being a wonderful host. And we will look forward to meeting our listeners in another fortnight from now. It is once again the turn of a festival in the coming fortnight, and we will be discussing Shivratri with the parents. So until then, namaste and be well.
Namaste.